I think we move to forgiving people or trying to forgive them too quickly when they've wronged us. And when we do that, we make the process of forgiveness more difficult. And I think we move to forgiveness too quickly, and it's to our detriment and to the detriment of our relationships. Hi, I'm Warren, the rector here at St. Columba's. Glad you could join me today. I know it sounds strange for a priest to say that we move to forgiveness or not forgiving people too quickly. That's one of the results of moving to forgiveness too quickly, or having that as our sort of template, is we're wronged and we might say, I'm never going to forgive that. Or perhaps we might say, I really should try and forgive that. I think that's a mistake. There are other tools in the toolbox to use. As an example, forgetting. Most of the wrongs or the events, interactions that I feel that I have been wronged in, actually I've forgotten them. Even if at the time they were quite intense, I've forgotten them. That's important. Of course, there are events, interactions that we can't forget. And even that's important to know, that most of the interactions where we feel hurt, we've forgotten. But why not this one? Sometimes they are extreme, and you read about extreme cases, violent crime, for instance, in the newspaper. I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about what are more usual human interactions, even if they feel very intense, but the more usual human interactions. Why wasn't I able to forget this interaction like I have 1,000 before this? Or if someone else had the same interaction, they might have been able to forget it. Actually, that might not have even registered as a hurt. So why did it register for me? Why did it cut so deeply that I couldn't forget it, that I even felt hurt? Well, that's revealing something about ourselves, isn't it? Why did it hurt so much? It's revealing something about our own inner pain, perhaps, something of the past, whatever. It's something to explore, that we need to explore, or that we could fruitfully explore before we get to the stage of thinking that we should forgive or not forgive. Take feelings of humiliation. Let's say there's been an interaction and I felt humiliated. Of course, humiliation is a feeling. It's my feeling, which is to say that someone else might have the exact same interaction with that person and not feel humiliated. Even if the person was trying to humiliate me. I've been in situations there, I'm sure, where someone's tried to humiliate me and they've missed the mark. I've not registered as that. And I've been in other situations where I felt humiliated, but the person wasn't meaning to do so at all. It's telling me something about me, something about my pain, which actually isn't really about them. Even if they're trying to humiliate me, I'd be better off trying to understand, I wonder why I felt like that. We could also, this is also very fruitful for both ourselves, but also for our interactions with people. We could try to step back and and I know that's hard, to step back to look at ourselves and the other person in an interaction where we might have felt humiliated, for instance. It is hard, and it requires patience and discipline to learn how to do this, to take a step back and look at ourselves and ask. But also, we can ask about the other person. I wonder why they said that. I wonder why they felt the need to try and humiliate me. This is not to try and excuse them, it's to try and understand them, to comprehend what they were doing, what might have been the interaction. And actually, in that way, to come to understand not just them and not just me, but how our interaction works. Because maybe that person, you have to do something with them again. Maybe they're a work colleague. So just to get stuck in either your feelings of hurt or maintaining that kind of interaction which will result in that hurt, that gets us nowhere. Doesn't help the world, doesn't help you or them. So to step back and to try and understand both what's going on with me, with them, and in our interaction, that's looking to the future. Now, it might not heal the relationship, and we might still have some forgiveness to do there. Okay. But you can see how that's part of the toolbox that is going to help our interaction with other people, potentially help and heal a relationship, but also help us grow. After doing all that for a while, we might actually forget about forgiveness. What was our first response? I should forgive them, or I'm never going to forgive them. It's just the other side of the coin. Could actually become a more fruitful process because we're learning something about ourselves. So actually, and I've done this, you actually forget about the need to forgive because actually you're working something and you actually discover that there's so little to forgive in the end because it was really about my feelings of humiliation. As an example, if I didn't feel humiliated, there wouldn't be anything to forgive. If the person, let's say, the person tried to humiliate me and I didn't feel humiliated at all because that wasn't a point of pain for me, I might then have some compassion for that person and think, I wonder what drove them to do that. They've revealed something about themselves to me. That's important. Yeah, so two tools in the toolbox. Forgetting, and if we can't forget, we know we haven't and we can't forget. To actually learn something about ourselves, about the other person, and to bring some healing. And of course, after all of that, there might be the need to bring forgiveness, of course. But notice if we jump to forgiveness too soon, we miss the opportunity to learn about ourselves and other people to our detriment. That's my point today. That's why I don't think we should jump to forgiveness too quickly. Sometimes, because if we do jump to forgiveness too quickly, sometimes the response isn't, I should forgive, it is, I'm never going to forgive that. And that might be because not forgiving is part of our psychological defense that stops us coming into contact with painful parts of ourselves, of our past or whatever, of our emotions. So we're never going to forgive because they have humiliated me. Actually, what has happened is something of my own pain has been revealed, and that's why I feel humiliated. I think this is why this is important, not to move to forgiveness too soon, because in a way, it becomes a tool for us not to actually grow as human beings. And if we can forgive, if we do it too quickly, we might actually miss the chance to actually grow. Especially if we get to the spot where we say, I'm never going to forgive that, then we've missed the chance to actually grow as a human being. To our own detriment, to the detriment of the relationship, and to our future. Thanks for joining me.